You, the one pretending to have a purpose. Admiral Theodore Ashworth's finger stabs through the air toward the woman in the plain logistics uniform. 200 guests freeze mid-conversation. Crystal champagne flutes hover inches from painted lips. The string quartet's final note hangs suspended, then dies. The ballroom of Naval Base San Diego glitters with enough brass and ribbons to sink a destroyer. Fleet Foundation's annual charity gala has drawn every power player on the West Coast. Admirals, defense contractors, senators' wives, and the kind of money that writes policy. Chandeliers cast golden pools across white tablecloths. The Pacific gleams through floor-to-ceiling windows, indifferent to the drama unfolding inside. Wren Calloway stands near the reception table, clipboard in hand. Her uniform marks her as logistics support, the invisible backbone that makes events like this possible. Brown hair pulled into a low regulation bun, average height, average build, the kind of face that disappears in a crowd. She looks up at the Admiral's pointed finger without flinching. Ashworth crosses the marble floor, his 3 stars catching the light with each step. 58 years old, 34 years of unchallenged authority carved into every line of his face. The guests part like water before a warship's bow. His entourage follows. Commander Garrett Holbrook, built like a refrigerator with a permanent sneer, and Lieutenant Preston Vance, whose smile never quite reaches his calculating eyes. The Admiral stops 3 feet from Wren, close enough that she can smell the bourbon on his breath, close enough that everyone in the immediate radius can witness what comes next. I asked for a refill 20 minutes ago. Ashworth raises his empty glass, swirling the residue of his 4th drink. Are you deaf or just incompetent? Wren's voice comes out steady. I'm logistics coordination, Admiral. Beverage service isn't part of my duties tonight. The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Commander Holbrook steps forward, thick arms crossed. Did she just refuse a direct order from a 3-star admiral? I believe she did. Lieutenant Vance pulls out his phone, the gesture almost casual. Should I document this for her file? Ashworth doesn't blink. His eyes remain locked on Wren's face, searching for the crack, the tremor, the fear that should be there. He finds nothing, just calm brown eyes looking back at him like he's a mildly inconvenient weather pattern. That absence of fear is what breaks something in him. You know what I see when I look at you? The Admiral's voice drops to a conversational tone, somehow more threatening than shouting. I see someone who managed to sneak into this event by smiling at the right person. I see a decoration, a prop, something to make the Navy look diverse in the photographs. He gestures at the glittering room. Every person in this ballroom has earned their place. What have you earned? Wren's expression doesn't change. Her right hand moves almost imperceptibly, a slight adjustment of her stance that shifts her weight to the balls of her feet. No one notices except an elderly man at a corner table. Master Chief Petty Officer Virgil Odom, retired, 70 years old with hair like steel wool and eyes that have seen things that would break most men. His fork freezes halfway to his mouth. Answer me. Ashworth steps closer. What have you earned? The right to decline tasks outside my assignment, Admiral. Wren's tone remains professional, respectful, utterly unintimidated. Per Regulation 12-7. Holbrook actually laughs. She's quoting regulations at you, sir. Oh, I heard. Ashworth smiles. It doesn't reach his eyes. I heard perfectly. What happens next takes less than 2 seconds. The Admiral's arm sweeps up. The crystal glass arcs through the air. Amber liquid catches the chandelier light like liquid gold before it splashes directly into Wren's face. Gasps ripple through the crowd. A woman near the bar covers her mouth. Someone's fork clatters against a plate. Wren doesn't flinch. Bourbon drips from her chin, runs down her neck, soaks into her collar. She closes her eyes for exactly 4 seconds. Her chest rises once, holds, falls, rises again. A breathing pattern that Virgil Odom recognizes instantly. Tactical breathing, 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out. The kind they teach in places where panic means death. She opens her eyes and reaches for a napkin from the nearby table. Her movements are methodical, deliberate. She wipes her face with the same careful attention a surgeon might use cleaning instruments, folds the napkin, sets it aside, then she stands straight and looks directly at Admiral Ashworth. She doesn't say a word. That silence is louder than any scream. Ashworth's jaw tightens. He expected tears, anger, a satisfying breakdown he could point to as evidence of her unsuitability. Instead, she's standing there like a statue carved from granite, dripping bourbon and dignity in equal measure. Nothing to say? His voice carries an edge now. Most women would be crying. I'm not most women, Admiral. Lieutenant Vance types something on his phone, smirking. Getting all this, the attitude, the insubordination. Your career's about to get very interesting, sweetheart. As Wren bends to retrieve the napkin she dropped, something falls from her uniform pocket. A small metallic disc hits the marble floor with a distinctive ring. Not the cheap clink of pocket change, but the solid thud of quality brass. A challenge coin rolls in a tight circle before settling face up. Captain Deirdre Schofield, standing near the refreshment table with perfect posture and a permanent expression of mild disapproval, glances down. Her brow furrows. Challenge coins are common enough in military circles. Trading them is practically a sport. But this one, the design is wrong, or rather, too right, too specific. Before she can examine it further, Wren scoops the coin back into her pocket with a movement so fast it's almost defensive. At the corner table, Virgil Odom sets down his fork entirely. His eyes have gone sharp. That coin. He only caught a glimpse, but the weight of it, the flash of particular symbols. He's seen coins like that before, held them, earned them. But that's impossible, isn't it? Admiral Brennan, 4 stars gleaming at his collar, watches the scene from the head table with an unreadable expression. As the senior officer present, he could intervene. He doesn't. Not yet. His fingers drum a slow rhythm on the tablecloth. The gala continues around the confrontation like a stream flowing around a boulder. Conversations resume at half volume. The string quartet launches hesitantly into their next piece, but everyone keeps stealing glances at the logistics clerk with bourbon drying on her uniform and steel in her spine. Wren returns to her position near the reception table as if nothing happened. She picks up her clipboard, checks off an item. Professional, methodical. Commander Holbrook won't let it rest. He approaches with the swagger of a man who's never faced a consequence in his life. Admiral Ashworth has been protecting this fleet for 30 years. 30 years of keeping people like you safe. And you can't even pour him a drink? People like me. Wren writes something on her clipboard without looking up. Support staff, paper pushers. Holbrook leans in. Brooke leans. The people who exist because warriors like us need someone to handle the boring stuff. His breath is hot against her ear. Know your place. Wren's pen stops moving. For a moment, just a fraction of a second, something flickers across her face. Not anger, not fear, recognition. Like she's heard these words before, like she's been waiting for them. Then it's gone, and she's just a logistics clerk again, scribbling notes on a clipboard while a commander breathes threats into her ear. Lieutenant Vance approaches a group of junior officers near the bar, phone in hand. Within minutes, the whispers start spreading. Did you hear? She's not even supposed to be here. I heard she got the invitation through connections. The inappropriate kind, if you know what I mean. Ashworth's right. She's just a prop. The social tide turns with the precision of a coordinated operation. Women who smiled at Wren earlier now avoid eye contact. Men who nodded politely give her a wide berth. She becomes an island in a sea of dress whites and evening gowns. If you're watching this and wondering how one woman can stand so still while an entire room turns against her, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Because what Admiral Ashworth doesn't know about this logistics clerk is about to destroy everything he's built in 34 years. Trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. The evening stretches on. Ashworth works the room like the politician he's become, pressing flesh and making promises. But his eyes keep returning to Wren. She's still there, still working, still refusing to leave, to cry, to give him the satisfaction of a proper reaction. It infuriates him. I want her credentials checked. Ashworth corners Captain Schofield near the silent auction display. Something's off about that woman. Schofield nods crisply. I noticed. She quoted Reg 12-7 correctly, verbatim. Most support staff can't cite regulations by section number. And that coin, Ashworth's voice drops. Did you see it? Barely. She recovered it quickly. Too quickly. The Admiral's fingers tighten around his fresh drink. Run her through the system, full background. I want to know who she really is. Captain Schofield approaches the base security officer stationed near the main entrance. A brief conversation. A tablet computer passed between hands, fingers tapping on a screen. Wren continues her work, apparently oblivious. But when the security officer frowns at his screen, taps it again, and frowns deeper, her pen slows for just a moment. An almost imperceptible pause. At the corner table, Virgil Odom watches everything. 30 years as a BUDS instructor taught him to read people the way others read books. This woman moves wrong. Not wrong like a civilian pretending to be military. Wrong like someone pretending to be less than they are. He's seen operators go undercover before, watched them shrink themselves, dull their edges, become forgettable. It's harder than people think, dimming that light that training puts in your eyes. Most can't do it perfectly. Neither can she. But she's close. Closer than anyone he's seen in 20 years. His hand moves unconsciously to the challenge coin in his own pocket. If he's right about what he glimpsed on the floor... But he can't be right. Can he? Admiral Brennan catches Odom's eye across the room. A slight nod. The old Master Chief rises from his seat, weaving through the crowd until he reaches the head table. "You see it too," Brennan says quietly. It's not a question. "I see something." Odom's voice is gravel and caution. Too early to say what. "Her file came back classified." Odom goes very still. "How classified?" "Above Schofield's clearance. Above mine, actually, which is interesting." Brennan's fingers resume their drumming. "I put in a request for clarification. We'll see. And until then, we watch." Brennan's gaze settles on Ashworth, who is currently gesturing expansively to a group of defense contractors. "And we let whatever's happening, happen." The security officer approaches Captain Schofield with the tablet, his face pale. Their conversation is too quiet to overhear, but Schofield's expression shifts from professional interest to something approaching alarm. She marches directly to Admiral Ashworth. "Sir, a word in private." Ashworth excuses himself from the contractors with practiced grace. They retreat to an alcove near the emergency exit, voices low but intense. "Well?" "Her file is restricted." Schofield's words come out clipped. "Classification level above anything I can access." Above anything anyone at this event can access, apparently. "That's impossible." Ashworth's brow furrows. "She's a logistics clerk. The system says otherwise. When I tried to dig deeper, I got flagged. Whoever she is, sir, someone very high up has taken steps to keep it quiet." The Admiral processes this. His face cycles through confusion, suspicion, and settles on something darker. "A plant." The word comes out flat. "Someone sent her to spy on me, on this event." "That's one possibility. It's the only possibility that makes sense." Ashworth straightens his jacket. "I have enemies, Captain. People who would love to see me brought down. This is exactly the kind of game they'd play." He strides back into the ballroom, purpose burning in his eyes. Commander Holbrook and Lieutenant Vance fall into step behind him like attack dogs sensing their master's intent. Wren doesn't look up from her clipboard as the three men approach, but her weight shifts again, that subtle realignment that Virgil Odom noticed before. Feet positioned for movement, center of gravity lowered almost imperceptibly, ready. "Your file is classified." Ashworth stops directly in front of her, blocking her view of the room. "Above my clearance. Care to explain that?" "I wouldn't know anything about file classifications, Admiral." Wren's voice remains steady. "I just coordinate logistics." "You're lying." Holbrook crowds in from her left. "Nobody gets that kind of protection without a reason." "Maybe you should ask your IT department." Wren finally looks up from her clipboard. "System errors happen." "System errors." Vance laughs from her right. "That's your explanation? A glitch?" "I don't owe you an explanation, Lieutenant. I owe you professional conduct in the performance of my duties, which I've provided despite considerable provocation." Her eyes move to Ashworth. "If you have concerns about my security clearance, I suggest you file a formal inquiry through proper channels." The Admiral's face reddens. Proper channels. This nobody, this decoration, is lecturing him about proper channels. "I've served this Navy for 34 years. His voice rises enough that nearby guests turn to look. "I have commanded carrier groups. I have advised Joint Chiefs. I have stood in the Situation Room while presidents made decisions that shape the world." He leans in close. And you think you can hide behind proper channels while infiltrating my event? I'm not infiltrating anything, Admiral. I was assigned here. By who? By whoever handles logistics assignments. I don't question orders. I follow them. Wren's gaze holds steady. Something I'd think a 34-year veteran would understand. The silence that follows is suffocating. Admiral Brennan rises from the head table. The movement draws every eye in the room. A 4-star standing commands attention like gravity commands planets. But before he can speak, Ashworth's arm shoots out. Security! 2 base security officers materialize from their posts near the doors. Young, uncertain, but trained to respond to authority. This woman is a security threat. Ashworth's voice carries across the ballroom with parade ground projection. She has infiltrated this event under false pretenses. Her credentials are falsified. Detain her immediately. The officers hesitate. One glances toward Admiral Brennan, seeking guidance from the higher-ranking officer. Brennan's expression reveals nothing. That was an order. Ashworth's teeth are clenched. Detain her now. The officers move forward. Wren sets down her clipboard with deliberate care. She doesn't resist as they approach. Doesn't run. Doesn't protest. She extends her wrists. The handcuffs click into place with a sound that echoes through the silent ballroom. 200 of the most powerful people in the Pacific Fleet watch as a logistics clerk is handcuffed at a charity gala. Phones come out. Photos are taken. This will be the gossip of the season. Admiral Ashworth personally catching a spy at the Fleet Foundation event. What a story. What drama. Commander Holbrook's grin is triumphant. Not so calm now, are we? But Wren is calm. Terrifyingly, impossibly calm. Her breathing remains even. Her stance remains balanced. Even with her hands bound in front of her, she carries herself like someone waiting for a bus, not someone whose career is being destroyed in real time. Lieutenant Vance notices something else. Her eyes aren't scanning for exits. They're not seeking help or calculating escape routes. They're watching, cataloging, as if she's the one conducting surveillance, not the one being detained. Something's wrong, he murmurs to Holbrook. What are you talking about? We got her. Look at her. She's not scared. She's not angry. Vance struggles for the word. Waiting. Holbrook dismisses it with a grunt. She's in shock. They all look like that before they break. At the corner table, Virgil Odom is already on his feet. 30 years of instinct scream that they're missing something, that this entire scene is backwards somehow. The predator and prey have switched places, and nobody in the room realizes it except him, and maybe her. Captain Schofield approaches the detained woman with a tablet. We're going to conduct a proper identity verification. Place your finger on the scanner. Wren complies without hesitation. The scanner beeps. Processes. Beeps again. Schofield stares at the screen. Her face goes completely blank. The expression of someone processing information that doesn't fit their understanding of reality. Well? Ashworth demands. Who is she? I don't know. Schofield's voice sounds strange. Hollow. The fingerprint returned a code I've never seen before. Access denied. Classification level. She swallows. Classification level doesn't exist. The system is telling me the classification level doesn't exist. That's absurd. I know, sir, but that's what it says. Ashworth snatches the tablet. His eyes scan the screen, reading the same impossible words. Access denied. Classification level redacted. Authorization. None available at this facility. Someone is playing games. His voice has gone dangerous. Someone very high up is trying to embarrass me, to make me look like a fool. He turns on Wren with renewed fury. Who sent you? Was it the Inspector General, the NCIS, someone on the Oversight Committee? He steps closer with each question, close enough that she can probably count the burst blood vessels in his eyes. Tell me who you're working for, and I'll make sure you only lose your career. Keep lying, and I'll make sure you lose everything. Wren's response is quiet, almost gentle. I'm not lying, Admiral, and I'm not working against you. A pause. The truth is actually much simpler than you think. Then explain it to me. I can't. Her eyes flick to the security officers, to the watching crowd, to the phones still recording. Not here. Not like this. You can't or you won't. Both. She meets his gaze without blinking. There are things above both our pay grades, sir. I suggest you make some calls before you do something that can't be undone. Ashworth goes very still. In 34 years of service, no one has spoken to him with such quiet authority. Not privates, not captains, not fellow admirals, and certainly not logistics clerks in handcuffs. There's something wrong with this picture. Something fundamentally, structurally wrong. She just told a 3-star admiral that some things are above his pay grade. While handcuffed, in front of 200 witnesses. Drop a comment right now. What do you think is really going on? Because I promise you, nobody in this room has figured it out yet. And when the truth comes out, careers won't be the only things that shatter. But Theodore Ashworth didn't climb to 3 stars by backing down from challenges. He didn't survive defense budget battles and congressional hearings and the cutthroat politics of flag rank by letting subordinates intimidate him with mysterious hints. If this woman is bluffing, he'll call it. If she's not, well, he's not ready to consider that possibility yet. Escort her out. Ashworth waves at the security officers. Hold her in the security office until NCIS can collect her for interrogation. I want a full counterintelligence workup. The officers take position on either side of Wren. The crowd parts to let them pass. A walk of shame through the glittering ballroom, past the silent auction items and the champagne fountains and the string quartet that has wisely stopped playing. Wren walks with her head high. No tears, no pleas, no dramatic declarations of innocence. Just that unnerving, unbreakable calm. They're halfway to the door when Admiral Brennan's voice cuts through the room. Wait. Everyone freezes, including Ashworth, who turns to face his senior officer with barely concealed irritation. Admiral Brennan? I've received a response to my earlier inquiry. Brennan holds up his phone. His expression is carefully neutral, the face of a man who has just learned something significant and is deciding how to handle it. There may be complications with this situation. What kind of complications? The kind I need to discuss with you privately. Brennan's eyes flick to Wren, still flanked by security officers in the middle of the ballroom. Before any further action is taken, Ashworth hesitates. The entire room is watching. His reputation, his authority, everything he's built. It all hangs on how he handles the next few seconds. The woman is a security threat, he says finally. Whatever complications exist, they can be addressed after she's secured. Theodore. Brennan's use of his first name is deliberate, intimate, a reminder of their decades of shared history. Trust me. You want to see this message before you proceed. The two admirals lock eyes. Something passes between them, a calculation of power, of risk, of the invisible chess game that governs flag rank politics. Ashworth blinks first. Hold her here. He gestures at the security officers. Don't let her out of your sight. He crosses to Brennan, leaning in to read the phone screen. His face cycles through several expressions in rapid succession: confusion, disbelief, anger, and finally something that might be fear. This is a joke. It's not. It has to be. There's no way she's... The authorization codes check out. I verified them twice. Ashworth's head snaps toward Wren. He stares at her like he's seeing her for the first time, like the plain logistics uniform has peeled away to reveal something completely different underneath. No, he shakes his head. No, this doesn't change anything. She still refused a direct order. She still disrupted my event. She still... He's grasping now, searching for solid ground. Whatever she is, she's been lying. To everyone in this room. Has she? Brennan's voice is quiet. Dangerous. Or have we just been seeing what we expected to see? At the corner table, Virgil Odom watches the Admiral's whispered exchange with growing certainty. He doesn't know what that phone message contains, but he knows what he saw tonight. The breathing, the stance, the coin. The way she moved when she picked up that napkin, all coiled power and economy of motion. He knows what she is. The only question is why. And that question might be the most dangerous one of all. Ashworth returns to the center of the ballroom. His face has settled into hard lines, the expression of a man who has decided to double down regardless of consequences. I don't care what her file says. His voice carries to every corner of the room. I don't care who authorized her to be here or what secret mission she claims to be on. She humiliated me, in my ballroom, at my event. He stalks toward Ren, security officer stepping aside. And before this night is over, she's going to explain herself. He stops directly in front of her, close enough to kiss, close enough to kill. One last chance. His voice drops to a whisper only she can hear. Tell me who you really are. Tell me what you're doing here, and maybe I let you walk away with your career intact. Ren's response is so soft, he almost misses it. You really should have read that message more carefully, Admiral. Something shifts in Ashworth's expression. The doubt he's been suppressing surfaces for just a moment. A crack in the armor of his certainty. Then his jaw hardens. Wrong answer. His hand shoots up, grabs her chin, forces her head back. The gesture is pure dominance. The action of a man who has spent 34 years treating subordinates as extensions of his will. Now then, his grip tightens. Who are you? The room holds its breath. Ren doesn't struggle, doesn't speak. Her eyes stay fixed on his face with an intensity that makes several observers uncomfortable. Commander Holbrook steps forward, eager to assist. Maybe she needs some encouragement, sir. A night in detention might loosen her tongue. Lieutenant Vance is already typing on his phone. I'm documenting everything, for the record. Captain Schofield watches from a distance, her expression troubled. Something is wrong. She can feel it in her bones. This woman should be terrified, should be begging, should be doing anything except staring at a 3-star admiral like she's memorizing his face for a future reference. At the corner table, Virgil Odom's hand moves to his pocket. His fingers close around his own challenge coin, the one he earned 40 years ago, in a place that officially doesn't exist. If he's right about her, what happens next could go very wrong very fast. Admiral Brennan remains at the head table, phone in hand. His thumb hovers over a contact labeled simply NCIS Priority. He hasn't pressed it yet. Part of him wants to see how this plays out. Part of him already knows. Ashworth's grip on Ren's chin tightens further. His face is inches from hers now, close enough that she can see the yellowing of his teeth, the broken capillaries across his nose, the fury burning behind his eyes. Last chance. The words come out barely above a whisper. Before I end you. Ren's response carries no emotion, no fear, no anger, just simple, factual certainty. Admiral Ashworth, in approximately 3 seconds, you're going to make the biggest mistake of your career. Her eyes never waver. You should consider whether the satisfaction of the next moment is worth everything you've built. His hand pulls back, forms a fist, and swings directly at her face. The ballroom seems to slow. Crystal chandeliers freeze mid-sparkle. Champagne bubbles pause in their ascent. 200 witnesses hold their breath. And in that suspended moment, everything changes. Ren's arm comes up in a block so fast it seems to materialize rather than move. Her forearm catches his wrist. Her hip pivots, redirecting his momentum. His fist sails past her ear, missing by inches. The movement takes less than a second. Textbook. Clinical. The product of thousands of hours of training in hand-to-hand combat. Ashworth stumbles forward, thrown off balance by his own failed swing. His free hand reaches out instinctively, grabbing at Ren's uniform to steady himself. His fingers close around her sleeve and pull. The fabric tears with a sound like ripping canvas. The sleeve separates from shoulder to elbow, falling away to reveal the arm beneath, the arm, and what's inked into it. The ballroom goes absolutely silent. No one moves, no one breathes. Every eye in the room is fixed on the tattoo now visible on Ren Calloway's left arm. It runs from her shoulder to mid-bicep, an intricate design that anyone with even passing military knowledge would recognize. An eagle clutching a trident and an anchor, the symbol of naval special warfare, the mark of a Navy SEAL. Below it, smaller text, coordinates, a date. The kind of details that mean nothing to civilians and everything to operators. For 3 eternal seconds, nothing happens. Then Virgil Odom's voice cuts through the silence like a blade. That's a Team 4 Trident. He's on his feet now, moving forward through the frozen crowd. His eyes never leave the tattoo, reading it like a language only a select few can understand. Team 4. His voice carries clearly in the silent room. Black operations, deep cover. He stops 5 feet from Ren, his weathered face showing something approaching awe. There are maybe 200 people alive who know what that ink means. He looks at her, really looks at her, for the first time since the evening began. And I train most of them. Admiral Brennan is standing now, too. His phone is already at his ear, but his eyes are fixed on the revealed tattoo. Stand down. His voice rings with 4-star authority. Everyone stand down. Now. The security officers release Wren's arms immediately. Commander Holbrook stumbles backward like he's been burned. Lieutenant Vance's phone slips from his fingers and clatters on the marble floor. Only Admiral Ashworth remains frozen in place. His fist still hangs in the air where his punch ended. His face has gone the color of old paper. His mouth opens and closes without producing sound. He just swung at a Navy SEAL in front of 200 witnesses, while his subordinates recorded everything. The magnitude of his error crashes over him like a wave. And in the doorway, materializing as if summoned by the chaos, stands a man in a dark suit with credentials already in his hand. Special Agent Corbin Hale, NCIS. His voice cuts through the shock like a surgical instrument. Admiral Ashworth, I need you to remain exactly where you are. He steps into the ballroom, flanked by 2 additional agents. We've been recording this event for the past 47 minutes. The words hang in the air. Recording. 47 minutes. Every insult, every threat, every moment of Admiral Theodore Ashworth's unraveling has been captured, documented, preserved. Ashworth finds his voice at last. This is entrapment. This is a setup. She provoked me deliberately. Did she? Agent Hale's expression remains professionally neutral. Our recordings show a woman performing her assigned duties, being verbally and physically assaulted by a senior officer, and responding with minimal necessary force to defend herself. He glances at Wren. Petty Officer Calloway has been operating under NCIS authority for the past 14 months. Everything she's done tonight has been within the scope of her authorized mission. Mission? Ashworth's voice cracks. What mission? Operation Silent Anchor. Hale doesn't elaborate. The details are classified well above your clearance level, Admiral. What I can tell you is that your actions tonight have provided exactly the evidence we needed. Evidence of what? Agent Hale smiles. It doesn't reach his eyes. I think you already know. The ballroom erupts into chaos. The chaos lasts exactly 11 seconds. Then Admiral Marcus Brennan's voice slices through the noise like a command from on high. Silence. One word. 4 stars behind it. The ballroom goes quiet so fast the transition is almost physical. A pressure change, an atmospheric shift. 200 people remember simultaneously that they are in the presence of serious power, and that power has just spoken. Brennan steps forward, positioning himself at the center of the tableau. To his left, Agent Hale and his NCIS team. To his right, Admiral Ashworth, still frozen with his torn victim's sleeve clutched in his fist. And in the middle, Wren Calloway, her trident tattoo catching the chandelier light like a brand. Agent Hale. Brennan's voice carries the calm of a man who has commanded carrier groups through typhoons. I assume you have documentation to support these claims. Yes, sir. Hale produces a tablet from his jacket. Petty Officer Calloway's service record, her assignment orders, the operational parameters of Silent Anchor. He swipes through screens. And of course, the authentication codes that confirm her identity beyond any doubt. Commander Holbrook finds his voice first. It comes out strangled, desperate. The tattoo's fake. He points at Wren's arm with a shaking finger. She's a con artist. Anyone can get ink done at a parlor. This proves nothing. Agent Hale doesn't even look at him. Instead, he pulls up a new screen and holds it where the nearby guests can see. Naval Special Warfare maintains a classified registry of all operator tattoos. Design specifications, placement coordinates, unique identifiers embedded in the artwork itself. He zooms in on a section of the image. Petty Officer Calloway's trident was registered on March 15th, 4 years ago, following her completion of Bud's Class 279. A pause. She was one of 3 women to attempt that class. The only one to complete it. The words land like artillery shells. One of 3 women. The only one to complete it. Across the ballroom, expressions shift. The junior officers who spread rumors about connections suddenly can't meet anyone's eyes. The women who avoided her now stare with something approaching wonder. The men who dismissed her as a decoration look like they're calculating exactly how badly they've misjudged the situation. Virgil Odom steps closer to examine the tattoo with professional interest. His weathered fingers hover an inch from her skin, tracing the lines without touching. The depth is right. His voice carries the authority of someone who has seen hundreds of these marks. The fade pattern matches 4 years of wear, and this detail here, he indicates a small element near the anchor, that's a Team 4 signature, changed every 18 months for security purposes. He straightens and looks at Holbrook with undisguised contempt. This ink is as real as mine, Commander, and I earned mine before your father learned to shave. Holbrook's face cycles through red, white, and finally settles on gray. The implications of his accusation crash over him. He just called a Navy SEAL's service credentials fake in front of witnesses. On record, his career isn't ending. It's combusting. Admiral Ashworth hasn't moved. The torn sleeve still dangles from his grip like evidence at a crime scene, which, in a very real sense, it is. His eyes remain fixed on Wren's face, searching for some sign that this is all an elaborate hoax, a prank, a nightmare he'll wake from. He finds nothing but calm brown eyes looking back at him with infinite patience. This is impossible. The words come out hollow, mechanical. Women don't serve in SEAL teams. It's not allowed. It wasn't allowed. Agent Hale corrects him with professional precision. The integration policy changed 3 years ago. Petty Officer Calloway was among the first wave of female candidates. She graduated with the second highest scores in her class. Another swipe of the tablet. Her operational record includes deployments to 4 combat zones, 17 direct action missions, and 3 classified operations that I'm not authorized to discuss in this setting. Ashworth's mouth opens, closes, opens again. I want to see her, commanding officer. I want confirmation from SOCOM. You want. Brennan's interruption is quiet but absolute. Theodore, you want a great many things right now. But what you're going to get is something else entirely. He turns to face the ballroom, addressing the assembled guests with the gravitas of a man delivering a verdict. What we have all witnessed tonight is a senior officer assaulting a subordinate. The fact that the subordinate is a decorated special operator makes this worse, not better, but it would be unacceptable regardless of her background. His gaze sweeps the room, lingering on faces, marking witnesses. Anyone who recorded this evening's events will provide their footage to NCIS before leaving. Anyone who shared recordings on social media will delete them immediately and provide Agent Hale with the details. This is not a request. Phones disappear into pockets and purses with remarkable speed. Lieutenant Vance bends to retrieve his dropped phone, but an NCIS agent reaches it first. We'll need this, sir. Evidence. The color drains from Vance's face as he realizes exactly how much incriminating material his own device contains. Every whispered rumor, every strategic photo, every text message coordinating the social campaign against Wren, all of it now in federal hands. Wren speaks for the first time since the reveal. Her voice is level, professional, utterly controlled. Admiral Brennan, with your permission, I'd like the handcuffs removed. Brennan nods to the security officers who fumble with their keys in their haste to comply. The cuffs fall away and Wren rubs her wrists once, a brief, human gesture, before returning to attention. Petty Officer Calloway. Brennan's voice softens marginally. How long have you been operating under this cover? 14 months, sir. 14 months. He lets the number hang in the air. And in that time, you've been subjected to treatment like tonight's? Tonight was escalated, sir, but not unprecedented. The implication settles over the room like a toxic cloud. 14 months. Over 400 days of being dismissed, demeaned, and disrespected by people who had no idea who they were dealing with. Captain Schofield steps forward, her face ashen. I questioned your credentials. I demanded verification. I helped them. She stops, unable to finish the sentence. You followed procedure, Captain. Wren's response contains no accusation. You saw anomalies and investigated them. That's exactly what you should have done. But I assumed, everyone assumed. For the first time, something like warmth enters Wren's voice. That was the point. Brennan exchanges a look with Agent Hale before continuing. The operation you've been conducting. Silent Anchor. I've received a briefing summary, but I'd like to hear it from you, in terms appropriate for this setting. Wren considers her words carefully. Admiral Ashworth has been under investigation for 18 months. Allegations of contract fraud, bribery, and misuse of naval resources. The problem was evidence. Every witness was either complicit, compromised, or too afraid to testify. Her eyes flicked to Ashworth, then away. I was inserted to document his behavior patterns, to establish that the public face he presents to oversight committees bears no resemblance to how he treats subordinates in private. You were bait. Brennan's voice is flat, not accusatory, just clarifying. I was a catalyst, sir. My role was to exist in his orbit without challenging his authority, to be present when he revealed his true nature. A pause. Tonight, he revealed it to 200 witnesses who can't be bought, intimidated, or discredited. That was the objective. Ashworth finds his voice again. It comes out ragged, desperate. She manipulated me. This whole evening was engineered to make me react. It's entrapment. Any lawyer will see through this charade. Agent Hale responds before Wren can. Petty Officer Calloway performed her assigned duties without deviation. She politely declined a request outside her responsibilities. She responded to verbal abuse with professionalism. She defended herself with minimal necessary force when physically attacked. He tilts his head. At what point, Admiral, do you believe she entrapped you? When she wiped bourbon off her face without complaining? When she quoted regulations you apparently don't know? When she failed to cry on command? Ashworth's jaw works silently. The law is very clear on this point, Hale continues. Entrapment requires inducement. An investigator persuading someone to commit a crime they wouldn't otherwise commit. Petty Officer Calloway didn't persuade you to do anything. She simply existed. Everything that followed was your choice. The silence that follows is absolute. Brennan breaks it with a single word. Evidence. Hale nods and produces a small device from his pocket, a digital recorder no larger than a button. Petty Officer Calloway has been wearing this for the duration of tonight's event. It captures audio in a 3-meter radius with court-admissible clarity. He holds it up. Every word Admiral Ashworth spoke tonight is on this device. Every threat, every insult, every order to his subordinates to harass and intimidate. He sets the recorder on a nearby table. Additionally, we have synchronized footage from multiple angles, courtesy of the event's own security cameras and several cooperative guests who were pre-positioned for this purpose. Ashworth's head swivels, scanning the crowd. Which of them were plants? Which smiling faces were agents in disguise? His paranoia, always present, now has legitimate targets. The evidence doesn't stop there. Hale's voice takes on an edge. Over the past 14 months, Petty Officer Calloway has documented 237 instances of misconduct within your command structure, falsified readiness reports, diverted maintenance funds, contracts awarded to companies with personal connections to your family. He pulls up a new screen on his tablet. We've traced $47 million in fraudulent payments to shell companies controlled by your brother-in-law. We have emails, we have wire transfers, we have testimony from 3 contractors who agreed to cooperate in exchange for reduced charges. The number lands like a physical blow. $47 million. In the stunned silence, a woman near the back of the ballroom rises from her seat. Elegant. Composed. Wearing diamonds that catch the light with every movement. Eleanor Ashworth, the Admiral's wife of 31 years. She doesn't speak, doesn't cry, doesn't rage or plead or defend. She simply looks at her husband with an expression that suggests she's seeing him clearly for the first time in decades. Then she turns and walks toward the exit, her heels clicking against the marble with metronomic precision. She doesn't look back. Ashworth watches her go. Something in his face crumbles. Not his arrogance, not his anger, but something deeper, the foundation beneath both. Eleanor, his voice cracks. Eleanor, wait. She doesn't. The door closes behind her with a sound like a gavel falling. Commander Holbrook makes a decision, a bad one, born of panic and the desperate need to distance himself from the sinking ship of his patron's career. He runs, or tries to. He makes it 3 steps toward the service exit before his path is blocked. Not by NCIS agents, not by security officers, but by Virgil Odom. The 70-year-old retired Master Chief doesn't assume a fighting stance, doesn't raise his fists. He simply plants himself in Holbrook's path with the immovable certainty of a man who has faced down enemies far more dangerous than panicking commanders. Son, his voice is almost gentle, you have 2 choices right now. You can stop, cooperate, and maybe salvage something from this mess, or you can try to go through me. A pause. I'm old, I'm tired, and I have nothing left to prove. But I promise you, you will not enjoy option 2. Holbrook freezes. His eyes dart between Odom and the exit, calculating odds, measuring distances. Don't. Wren's voice comes from behind him. She hasn't moved from her position, but her stance has shifted. That subtle realignment of weight that precedes action. You're already facing obstruction charges. Don't add assault to the list. For a long moment, Holbrook hovers on the edge of a decision that would define the rest of his life. Then his shoulders slump. He raises his hands slowly, turns to face Agent Hale, and waits. Two NCIS agents move forward with handcuffs. The click of metal against metal echoes through the silent ballroom. Lieutenant Vance doesn't even try to run. He stands motionless as a third agent approaches, his face a mask of controlled terror. "Lieutenant Preston Vance." The agent's voice is professionally neutral. "You are being detained pending investigation into conspiracy charges, harassment, and obstruction of justice. You have the right to remain silent." The words fade into background noise as the reality of the situation settles over the room. 3 careers, ended in less than 20 minutes, and the night isn't over yet. Admiral Brennan approaches Agent Hale with purpose in his stride. "You mentioned backup files, time-sensitive materials." Hale nods. "Admiral Ashworth maintains a secondary office in Building 7. Our intelligence suggests he keeps physical documentation there, contracts, correspondence, and financial records that haven't been digitized." He checks his watch. His legal team has already been notified of the incident. They'll arrive within the hour to implement evidence preservation protocols, which in practical terms means they'll shred everything they can reach. And you need someone who knows the layout. We need someone who has spent 14 months learning every inch of this base. Hale's eyes move to Wren. Petty Officer Calloway has mapped security patrol schedules, identified surveillance blind spots, and documented access codes that shouldn't exist in any official record. Brennan's expression sharpens. "She's been that thorough?" "Sir." Wren steps forward. "When I was assigned to this operation, I was told that Admiral Ashworth had survived 3 previous investigations. Each one collapsed due to missing evidence, compromised witnesses, or jurisdictional complications." Her voice carries quiet certainty. "I was not going to be the 4th failure. So you memorized everything. Everything I could access, everything I could observe, everything that might matter." A pause. "Building 7 has 2 entry points, 4 security cameras, and a maintenance corridor that bypasses all of them. Ashworth's private office uses a biometric lock, but the service panel has a 6-digit override that was never changed from the factory default. I can have your team inside in under 7 minutes." Agent Hale produces a second device from his pocket, a communication unit, compact and military grade. "We have a team standing by 2 blocks from the building. They've been waiting for the green light." Brennan considers the situation. 200 witnesses watching, cameras still rolling despite his earlier order. The careful balance of procedure and expediency that defines flag-rank decision-making. "Do it." His voice carries the weight of authorization. "Get those files before they disappear." Wren accepts the communication unit with a nod. She's already moving toward the exit when Ashworth's voice stops her. "You can't do this." She pauses, turns. Ashworth has found something. A final reservoir of indignation, or perhaps just the reflexive arrogance of a man who has never accepted defeat. "You spent 14 months lying to everyone on this base, pretending to be something you're not, manipulating situations to make me look bad." His voice rises. "And now you're going to break into my office? Steal my private documents? This is still America. I have rights." Wren walks back toward him, slowly, deliberately, each step measured with the precision of someone who has spent years calculating exactly how much force any situation requires. She stops 3 feet away, close enough for him to see the faint scar on her neck, shrapnel from an IED in a country whose name is probably still classified, close enough for him to smell the bourbon still drying on her uniform, close enough for him to recognize finally exactly who he's been antagonizing for the past year. Admiral Ashworth. Her voice is quiet, almost compassionate. "I didn't pretend to be something I'm not. I simply stopped advertising what I am. There's a difference. You lied. I performed a role, the same way operators perform roles in every theater of conflict." She tilts her head slightly. "The difference is that my theater was here. My enemy was corruption, and my mission was to document the truth about how you treat the people under your command. I treated you exactly as you deserved." "Yes." A ghost of a smile crosses her face. "You did, and that's the point." She lets the words settle before continuing. Every person who decides to abuse their power believes they're doing it to someone who deserves it. Someone lesser. Someone who won't fight back. Her eyes hold his without blinking. But here's the thing about power, Admiral. It's not about what you can do when no one's watching. It's about what you choose to do when you think no one can stop you. She gestures at the ballroom, the shocked faces, the recording devices, the NCIS agents processing evidence. 200 people watched you tonight. They saw you humiliate a subordinate for refusing to pour your drink. They saw you throw wine in her face. They saw you order her detained on false charges. And they saw you throw a punch at a woman in handcuffs. Her voice drops. Not because I provoked you. Not because I forced you. But because you believed you could. Because you've always believed that your rank makes you untouchable. She steps back. You were wrong. The Admiral built his empire on the assumption that power protects the powerful. He spent 34 years believing that stars on his collar made him immune to consequences. But Ren Calloway just proved something that bullies never want to accept. Sometimes the person you're stepping on is standing on solid ground while you're balanced on the edge of a cliff. If this story resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And stay tuned. Because we're about to see exactly what $47 million of fraud looks like when the walls come down. Ren doesn't wait for his response. She turns and strides toward the exit, communication unit in hand, already coordinating with the waiting team. Alpha Team, this is Anchor. I'm en route to your position. Prepare for building entry. Time is critical. The response crackles through the device as she disappears through the doors, leaving chaos in her wake. Admiral Brennan watches her go with an expression that might be admiration. Then he turns to face Agent Hale. What happens now? Now we execute the arrest warrant, Hale signals to his remaining agents. Admiral Theodore Ashworth, you are under arrest for fraud, bribery, misappropriation of government funds, and assault on a federal officer. He produces a laminated card. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. The Miranda rights echo through the ballroom as agents move forward with handcuffs. For the first time since the evening began, Ashworth doesn't resist. He doesn't argue. He doesn't demand lawyers or threaten consequences or invoke his 34 years of service. He simply extends his wrists and waits. The handcuffs close with a click that seems to reverberate through every corner of the room. Virgil Odom approaches Admiral Brennan as the arrested men are led toward the exits. I trained hundreds of operators over 30 years, watched them deploy to places that don't officially exist, saw them come back changed, or not come back at all. He pauses, his weathered face thoughtful. That woman spent 14 months being treated like garbage by people who couldn't tie her boots. She took every insult, every humiliation, every moment of disrespect. His voice carries something approaching awe. And she did it without breaking cover, without losing her temper, without giving them a single excuse to remove her from the operation. He shakes his head slowly. I've seen courage under fire, but what she did? That's a different kind of strength, the kind that doesn't need witnesses or medals or recognition. A pause. The kind that just endures. Brennan nods slowly. She'll need support after this. 14 months undercover takes a toll that doesn't show up in operational reports. She'll have it. Odom's jaw sets. The community takes care of its own, even when they don't ask. Across the base, in the shadow of Building 7, Ren Calloway moves through darkness with the practiced ease of someone who has done this 100 times before. The NCIS team falls in behind her. 4 agents in tactical gear, moving with professional silence through the maintenance corridor she mapped months ago. It's security camera sweep in 45 seconds, she murmurs into her comm. We move on my mark. The corridor smells of cleaning chemicals and recycled air. Fluorescent lights flicker overhead, casting strobing shadows across concrete walls. Somewhere above them, an air conditioning unit hums its mechanical lullaby. Ren counts down in her head. At 0, she signals forward. They emerge into a service alcove adjacent to Ashworth's private office. The biometric lock gleams red in the dim light, a high-end security system that cost taxpayers $30,000. Ren moves to the service panel beside the door. Her fingers find the hidden release without hesitation. The panel swings open to reveal a numerical keypad, its buttons worn from years of maintenance access. She enters 6 digits. Factory default. Never changed. The lock clicks green. Clear the room. Her voice carries the authority of someone who has led entry teams into far more dangerous spaces than corner offices. The agents move past her, weapons ready. 30 seconds later, the all-clear sounds. Wren enters to find exactly what she expected. A paper trail that Ashworth never believed anyone would follow. File cabinets line one wall, their locks laughably basic. A shredder sits in this corner, its basket half full of evidence that didn't quite make it to destruction. And on the desk, a laptop that Ashworth apparently believed was secure because he changed his password monthly. Bag everything. Hale's voice crackles through the comm. Forensics will sort it out later. The agents work with efficient precision. Within 20 minutes, the office has been stripped of everything that might constitute evidence. Wren stands at the window, looking out at the base she's called home for 14 months. The lights of the officers' quarters glow in the distance. The harbor beyond holds ships worth billions of dollars, crewed by thousands of sailors who trust their commanders to lead with integrity. How many of those commanders are like Ashworth? How many treat their subordinates as tools to be used and discarded? How many believe that stars on their collar make them immune to consequences? She doesn't know. Can't know. But tonight, at least one of them learned differently. Her phone buzzes, a message from an unknown number, encrypted, the kind that routes through servers in 4 countries before reaching its destination. 3 words and a set of coordinates. Anchor secured. Stand by for deep current. 72 hours. Below the text, a location marker. Somewhere in the South China Sea, a place that probably doesn't appear on any official map. Wren stares at the screen for a long moment. Then, for the first time in 14 months, she smiles. Back at the ballroom, the aftermath unfolds with bureaucratic precision. Statements are taken, evidence is cataloged. Witnesses are reminded of their obligations regarding classified information and the consequences of unauthorized disclosure. Admiral Brennan oversees the process with the steady hand of a man who has managed crises on a global scale. This particular crisis may be smaller in scope, but its implications reach far beyond the walls of a charity gala. The investigation will expand, Agent Hale tells him quietly. Ashworth didn't build this operation alone. He had enablers at every level, people who looked the other way, people who actively participated, people who profited from his schemes. He pauses. Some of them are probably in this room tonight. Brennan's gaze sweeps the remaining guests. Nervous faces, calculating eyes, the kind of expressions that suggest guilty consciences doing rapid math. You'll have full cooperation from my office. I expected nothing less, sir. Hale closes his tablet. Petty Officer Calloway's team has secured the physical evidence from Building 7. Combined with the digital records we've already obtained, we're looking at charges that could take down a dozen officers and twice as many contractors. And the $47 million? Asset forfeiture proceedings are already in motion. The shell companies will be dismantled. The money will be recovered. A pause. It won't fix everything. Won't undo the damage done by delayed maintenance, substandard supplies, compromised readiness. But it's a start. Brennan nods slowly. What happens to her? Calloway? That depends on her. NCIS has offered her a permanent position in counterintelligence. Her skills are exceptional. Hale's tone carries professional admiration. But operators like her don't usually transition well to desk work. They need the mission, the purpose. And if she wants to return to active duty, then she returns, with full honors, and probably a commendation that will be classified for the next 50 years. A ghost of a smile crosses his face. Not that she'd care. People like her don't do this for the medals. The ballroom empties slowly. Guests file out in subdued clusters, their evening of champagne and networking transformed into something far more significant. Tomorrow the story will begin to leak, carefully managed at first, then cascading through military and civilian media alike. The fall of Admiral Theodore Ashworth will become a case study in leadership courses, a cautionary tale in ethics seminars, a reminder that accountability doesn't stop at a certain rank. But that's tomorrow. Tonight, in a secure conference room adjacent to the base commander's office, a different kind of reckoning takes place. Wren Calloway sits across from Admiral Brennan, her torn uniform replaced by standard utilities. The trident tattoo is covered now, hidden beneath regulation fabric, but its presence lingers in the air between them. Brennan studies her for a long moment before speaking. 14 months. 427 days of maintaining a cover identity while being subjected to systematic harassment. His voice is quiet, thoughtful. What kept you going? Wren considers the question. Permission to speak freely, sir? Always. The first week was the hardest. I had to watch them dismiss everything I'd accomplished. Had to pretend I didn't know the answers when they questioned my competence. Had to stand there while men with half my training explained basic concepts like I was a child. Her jaw tightens momentarily. By the second month it became academic, an exercise in patience. And when it got personal, when they threw drinks in your face, then I reminded myself why I was there. Her eyes meet his directly. Admiral Ashworth destroyed 3 investigations. 3 attempts to hold him accountable, and each one failed because the evidence disappeared, the witnesses recanted, or the prosecutors lost their nerve. A pause. I wasn't going to be the 4th, no matter what it cost. Brennan leans back in his chair. You could have reported him through normal channels, filed complaints, let the system work. With respect, sir, the system was working for him. No accusation in her voice, just fact. 34 years of cultivating relationships, building networks, trading favors. He knew which inspectors general could be influenced, which congressional staffers owed him, which admirals would look the other way in exchange for future considerations. She shakes her head. The only way to bring him down was to make him bring himself down, in public, with witnesses he couldn't buy and evidence he couldn't suppress. So you endured. I endured. The simple acknowledgement hangs in the air. Brennan reaches into his pocket and produces a small box, the kind used for military decorations. He sets it on the table between them. This doesn't come close to compensating for what you sacrificed, but it's what I have the authority to offer. Wren doesn't open the box, doesn't reach for it. Sir, I didn't do this for recognition. I know. His voice softens. That's why you deserve it. For a moment, neither speaks. The weight of the evening settles around them. The chaos, the revelations, the careers destroyed and reputations salvaged. Then Brennan asks the question that's been hovering unspoken since she walked into the room. What happens now? NCIS wants you. Special Operations Command wants you back. You have options that most officers would kill for. He pauses. What do you want? Wren reaches into her pocket and produces her phone. The message still glows on the screen. Deep current. 72 hours. Coordinates in a sea that has become the world's most dangerous chessboard. There's another mission. There's always another mission. Brennan's tone carries no judgment. At some point, you'll have to stop. Rest. Rebuild something resembling a normal life. I know. She pockets the phone. But not yet. Why? The question hangs in the air. Wren takes her time answering, choosing words with the same precision she applies to operational planning. When I went through BUDS, the instructors told us something on the first day. They said that most of us would quit, not because we lacked physical strength or mental toughness, but because we'd decide that the cost wasn't worth the prize. She pauses. They were right. 80% of my class rang the bell. But the ones who stayed, we stayed because we understood something the others didn't. Which was? That the prize isn't what you get. It's what you become. Her voice drops. I became someone who doesn't quit, someone who endures, someone who finishes what she starts, no matter how long it takes or how much it costs. She meets Brennan's eyes directly. Admiral Ashworth is finished. His network is exposed. The money will be recovered. That mission is complete. A pause. But there are other Ashworths, other systems that protect the powerful at the expense of everyone else, other battles that need someone willing to stand in the fire and not flinch. And you want to be that someone. I am that someone. No arrogance in the statement, just truth. It's not about wanting anymore. It's about being. Brennan studies her for a long moment. Then he stands, extending his hand. Petty Officer Calloway, it has been an honor to witness your work tonight. Wren rises and takes his hand. Thank you, sir. Whatever Deep Current requires, you'll have my support, officially and otherwise. He releases her hand and steps back, coming to attention. You've earned the trust of the fleet. Don't ever doubt that. Then, with the precision of 40 years of service, Admiral Marcus Brennan renders a salute. Wren returns it crisply. The gesture completes something that words cannot express, an acknowledgement between warriors, a passing of respect across ranks and generations. Brennan holds the salute for 3 heartbeats before dropping it. "Dismissed, petty officer. Go get some rest. You've got 72 hours. Wren nods once, turns, and walks toward the door. Her hand touches the handle before Brennan's voice stops her one final time. "Calloway." She pauses, looks back. "When this is over, truly over, there's a position waiting for you. Training command. Pass on what you've learned to the next generation." A ghost of a smile crosses his weathered face. "We need more officers who understand that power means responsibility, not privilege." "I'll consider it, sir. That's all I ask." She opens the door and steps into the corridor beyond. The base is quiet now. The chaos of the evening has settled into the hum of normal operations. Duty officers monitoring stations, security patrols making their rounds, ships at anchor waiting for morning departure orders. Wren walks through the familiar pathways, past the buildings she memorized during 14 months of cover, toward the temporary quarters that will be hers for 72 more hours. Her phone buzzes again. Another message from the unknown number. "Briefing packet incoming. Secure channel. Access code Trident 77. She smiles. "Tomorrow, the world will wake to news of Admiral Ashworth's arrest. Cameras will capture his walk of shame from detention to arraignment. Analysts will dissect every detail of Operation Silent Anchor. Politicians will issue statements condemning corruption and praising the integrity of military justice. None of them will mention the woman who made it possible. The logistics clerk who wasn't a logistics clerk. The decoration who turned out to be a weapon. That's fine with Wren. She doesn't need recognition. She needs purpose. And in 72 hours, she'll have it." In the harbor, a submarine's running lights blink in the darkness. A vessel preparing for deployment to waters where the next conflict is already brewing. Wren pauses to watch it for a moment. Somewhere on that boat, sailors are checking equipment, reviewing mission parameters, preparing to serve their country in ways that will never make headlines. She understands them. She is them. Behind her, the ballroom lights finally go dark. The Fleet Foundation Gala is over. Admiral Ashworth is in custody. 3 careers lie in ruins. And somewhere in the South China Sea, new coordinates wait for someone brave enough to follow them. Wren Calloway turns from the harbor and continues walking. Tomorrow brings rest. The day after brings preparation. And then comes the hunt. Because justice isn't loud. It's patient. It endures. And it never, ever stops. 1 week later, a classified document crosses the desk of the Secretary of the Navy. It contains 3 items: a commendation for exceptional service, a request for extended operational deployment, and a single photograph. In the photograph, a woman in utilities stands before a group of BUDS candidates, the newest class to attempt what most would consider impossible. Her sleeve is rolled up. The trident tattoo catches the California sun. The caption reads simply, "Class 294, Day 1. Beneath it, someone has written in precise block letters, "Strength isn't noise, it's discipline when no one is clapping." The secretary reads it twice. Then he signs the deployment order. And somewhere in the Pacific, Wren Calloway receives a message on a secure channel. 3 words, "Good hunting, Anchor." She doesn't respond. She doesn't need to. The next mission has already begun.
Every soldier carry a story that few ever hear. Listen with your heart. Thank you for staying and watching. Subscribe to MVB Story for more.